Hey, we're Land of the Living, and you're watching PDX Spotlight.
Show your man a little love. Hard time, hard time. Don't you know, baby, that is all that I really want. Hard time, hard time, hard time. Well, sometimes I get a funny feeling, Dawn. You ain't mine, Lord, Lord. Hard time, hard time. Hard time, hard time.
Welcome to PDX Spotlight. I'm your host, Mike Burling, and I'm filling in for Natasha Haynes. Today, we are here at Firkin Lounge with Land of the Living. Welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mike.
Let's get started with just kind of the history of how you guys got together. I know, Kevin, you started this band. You've had a few different iterations of the band. How did you get to where you are now? How did Lynn get involved? You know, how did you
Oh, man.
Land of the Living?
Well, the recording started as just wanting to capture this moment that I had with my roommate Anthony, who was here I guess a few years ago, and he moved back to LA for numerous reasons. We had a special sort of musical connection, so I wanted to capture that. So we went down there and recorded this thing, but then I came back up and quickly realized that I just didn't have a drummer to play out with on this stuff. And Lynn got wind of the record through a couple of mutual friends, and the first time we played together, it was just like, yes, dude, this guy's got incredible tempo, like, he's got good licks, but he's like still got this really good sorry, I'm gonna just talk you up right now, but he's got this really good top-down sort of arrangement perspective on songs that I think is super rare, just a good musicality. So we just hit it off immediately, man, and I've been playing together since.
The thing that struck me when I first heard you guys was just how much sound came out of two guys. I mean, when you said, well, there's only two of us, I thought for sure there was more. Is there a reason you don't have a bass player, or do you feel like you need to grow, or do you feel like you can do what you need to do with two guys?
Man, we've tried it a couple of different ways, and we were working with Andon Oquendo for a little while, and he is actually a really, really great bass player, and he just had interest in other things, and we were kind of just went separate ways. But dude, he's actually working on a couple of projects right now that are really awesome.
Yeah, he's playing with Ezra Bell.
Yeah,
It's a new band that's doing really well. Just released some stuff, good stuff.
Yep. And so, but we went back to the duo thing just because we were having a lot of luck, like working together like that. You know, I mean, and I'm really big into the like doom tonal qualities of doom guitar. I think there's this like really nice tie-in with the blues, because blues guys were like the original pioneers of the distorted like big guitar sound.
Sludgy stuff.
Yeah, man, and like, you know, droning and rhythmic, and like the stoner rock doom guys are like sort of carrying that little part of the torch forward. And so I take a lot of my notes guitar-wise from those guys.
He has a baritone guitar too, so he's tuned low in a bass range, so it's nice and low and growly. We have a loop pedal. We have things that kind of help thicken the sound.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I find myself, you know, when we had the bass player, it was a little more safe. As a duo, it's a little more, you know, off the cuff, a little more spontaneous, a little more raw. Both are great, just depending on what the show is. You know, I find myself playing more with the duo because I have to fill up more space. You know, I don't have a bass player to just kind of lay a bed for.
Okay.
But you know, it's fun, and I think in this town and, you know, today's music scene generally, you have to be adaptable. So there's certain shows that, you know, maybe we'd call on a bass player for, and there's certain shows that we would need to do as a duo, partly because of pay, because we all know you don't get rich too quick playing music. So
the bigger the band, the less money you get, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, two guys butt heads less than three.
Yeah, dude, it's an efficient operation. Plus, you know, I don't know. We've been working with this guy Rich Layton, who was kind of a hero of mine back in Texas. Just growing up in Austin, I would always hear his name around. He was playing with some of the best blues musicians in town.
Harmonica player.
Yeah. And so we've been kind of experimenting with that a little bit, and we've been kind of playing with the idea of an organ player, and just sort of wanting to expand expand the dynamic range that we can sort of get to in the music by the personnel.
Yeah. Well, it's cool that you're open to that kind of thing. You'll play with, you know. I think you don't see a lot of duos out there right now, and especially in getting the kind of sound that you guys get. I mean, there's a few that come to mind, but it'll be interesting to see how that evolves, and you know, seeing you guys at the Blues Fest or something. Yeah. You know, whether it's going to be a duo or bigger.
Yeah.
I think it's always fun to have people sit in with you. You know, I mean, there's so much talent in this town, and this is a town of collaboration and of, you know, tipping the hat to other people and stuff. So I mean, there's always room for people to come in, sit in, play bass, play keys, play guitar, whatever else, you know, the track calls for, or the show calls for. You know, it's open-ended, which is great. It's a good card to have.
We got kind of a skeleton going, and we can always like add limbs and create a...
It's more than a skeleton. And the sound certainly doesn't suffer.
Hey, thanks.
Hell no, don't you dare. It ain't me that you're looking for. I ain't one who's meant to care. This game is getting old. Same story being told. Life's a bitch and then you die. Yep. Not again. You keep giving me an old story with a different rhyme. But God knows I've had enough. I finally wrap my head around it. Life's a bitch, so are you.
So let's talk a little bit about that sound.
Yeah.
We've got the new EP here.
Hey, thank you.
It's not that new anymore, right? But there's clearly a blues influence here. But there's more to it than that, right? I mean, where else does that sound come from? And would you consider yourself a pure blues band or kind of a hybrid?
I would say we're definitely not a pure blues band.
Definitely a fusion of sounds, fusion of influences. I think, it's rooted in blues, as is most American music, whether you want to accept that or not.
Yeah.
I mean, Muddy Waters said blues is the roots, everything else is the fruits. And we're kind of
awesome.
a living example of that. And yeah, I think, there's obviously, like Kiv said, the doom, sludge, stoner rock influence. I brought my own set of things that I'm into, whether it's mainly groove stuff. We dabble in like Afrobeat stuff, and there's just a couple songs. It's not a dominant influence, but groove, funk, fusion stuff. I just try to make people dance as a drummer. That's my job. So Kiv cites gangster rap as a large influence on his songwriting.
Absolutely.
And for a while I laughed at that, but I've kind of come around to seeing like actually what he means with that as far as like the writing, because blues has taken a lot of different forms in different eras, and it's a music of struggle, a music of the people and of roots. So
So could we see some variation to that on future albums? Kind of
Oh yeah,
I would say it's guaranteed.
experimenting with some other types of
Yeah.
sounds.
definitely.
I don't think the traditional blues guys want to accept us, and I don't think we want to be accepted by the traditional blues guys, because as you see in Portland, there is a great blues scene in Portland. The Waterfront Blues Fest is a phenomenal festival every year that draws people from all over the place. It's great, and I feel like there's a certain kind of niche that fits in that better than maybe we do, and hopefully someday we will find a place in that niche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You will.
traditional blues is a very kind of
It's a tough crowd, man. They like what they like,
Yeah.
And there are people in that camp who are working, for instance, the Cascade Blues Association. They've always been big supporters. I think some people that are pretty high up in that organization are trying to sort of like infuse us, get us into different venues that might, put us in front of people that we could appeal to that are in the more traditional crowd. And once I think they get a taste of the old stuff that we're bringing to the table, and then sort of develop a taste for the new stuff we're adding in, I think it's going to be a really powerful combination. It's
I think it's a pretty flexible audience. The Blues Fest is, for those who don't know what the Blues Fest is, I don't know if it's the biggest, but one of the biggest
Probably,
blues
yeah.
festivals in the country.
yeah.
And it's interesting that you bring that up, because I look at you guys, young guys playing the blues, and it's like I don't think of blues when I think of young musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you've got kind of a responsibility to pass that torch to the next generation and kind of keep blues alive, even though you're kind of straddling a couple sides of the music scene?
I think yes. I think that's a solid yes. It's an art form that deserves to stay alive. I think it's an incredibly nimble art form. You can just translate it into so many things. Hence the fruits, right? It's like everything is sort of touched by it. Blues used to sort of occupy a lot of different utilities in society for people. It was like your late night good times. It was like the juke joints where everybody met up. You'd dance for hours to droney music, kind of like EDM, but then it'd have like really distorted vocals and distorted guitars, sort of like doom and stoner. Plus the guy would be spitting, some sort of polemic at the beginning that sounds like gangster rap. It's like, it is every kind of music you can think of. And so I think once people sort of like start to see what a great thing everything else is derived from, they'll start like once they get a taste of that root, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I think especially in this town, is the town of very prolific indie music and lots of different diverse styles, right? And people, they don't want to like what is the common accepted popular music. They want to like obscure, more niche, smaller smaller known, less known music. So sometimes, I mean, I hear people say like, "Oh, blues music, yeah, I hate the blues. Like, I like all music except for blues and country." It's like, well, that's funny because blues and country are a huge influence on probably all those musics that you do like.
Right.
But that's okay. I mean, that's fine.
So
Maybe we
I
won't
get
win
it.
those people over at a show, but more often than not, I see people being like, "Wow, like I didn't think I really liked the blues, but like
Right.
that was awesome."
Like
Like,
that, I've never really heard the blues.
yeah,
Right,
Like
right.
I mean,
Like-
when you plug people back into that stuff, and it's also great to hear people say like, "Oh man, I'm from Austin, or I'm from all these places where like you took me home for a night." Like it's great to hear this here,
Right.
Can't get it straight. You're always down and up too late. But I'm lonely tonight. Can't get it right. You always end up in a fight. Lord, I'm lonely tonight. Yeah, I can't get it right. You always end up in a fight. Lord, but I'm lonely tonight. Lonely tonight. All right.
So we touched a little bit about the local music scene. Tell me what makes it different, better or worse than some of the other places you've played. I know you both grew up in different cities. So what is it about Portland that makes it work or not?
I hail from Indiana, which is quite different, obviously, than the West Coast out here. Kiv, of course, comes from Austin, Texas. I've had the privilege of going to enough, booming music scenes, not necessarily Indiana. Although Indiana does all right, we've got a good thing going on there. But you go to Nashville, you go to Chicago, you go to the East Coast, you go to these places. Every place is so, very different from the next, and they have their pulse and kind of their style. Portland is very unique itself. The great part of it is that you are amongst a city of artists, whether sonic artists or visual artists or just people who resonate with the arts and support the arts. You have a lot of people that are open to that here, very open-minded. I mean, never have I been in a town where you go to a bar and 3/4 of that bar probably play an instrument,
Right.
probably in a band.
Yeah.
Maybe you love that band, you go see that band. The downside of that is I think at times musicians and the public can be kind of jaded and oversaturated with the inundation of good music and music in general, It's very easy to start a band, it's very easy to record music, it's very easy to put your music out these days. You can do it all with a computer, and and that's a blessing and a curse because you have a lot of great stuff, and you have a lot of really shitty stuff out there, and people know that, and people's attention spans have become shorter and shorter and shorter, especially in a place where not only do you have the vast shows you can go to, but I mean, for God's sake, you can go hiking, canoeing, you can go surfing, you can go skiing, you can do so much stuff out here. So like, how do you convince someone to spend their valuable time at your show listening to your music?
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if they've never even heard of you, you know?
Yeah.
But
And
it's interesting that you bring up kind of that collaboration here, and I don't know if that happens in other towns the way that it does here, but you know, you do see bands, and like you said, you've got bands come to see each other play, and sometimes you look at the audience and I'll recognize, I'm like, well, this is just a bunch of bands watching and a bunch of other bands.
Yeah.
It's just
more,
good.
more often than not.
Yeah.
It's good and bad, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
because everybody really supports each other really well here, but it's hard to make a living at that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you know you're comping everybody at the door,
Right.
and then they're comping you, and
Yep.
you know you're all doing it for $10 a night.
Sure.
Honestly, my take on it is the people that I see doing it right play less shows in town here. They don't play, you know, every weekend. They play maybe once a month, twice a month, you know, once every other month. And then they use all the resources of Portland, all the vast network of artists and people who can help you out, and people who you can collaborate with. And then, you know, tour around. I mean, you're in prime territory for road trips out here.
Yeah.
Go to some other towns, you know.
I will say this about the scene: you can get a gig at a bar. You can. You know what I mean? The Austin scene got saturated to the point where it was really tough to get into a bar, and if you did, there was a lot riding on it. I mean, I remember, you know, it was just getting to that point actually when I left, but it seems like Portland's got sort of a similar scene to Austin, like maybe 10 years ago or something, where it's like, you know, if you want to play at a bar, you can contact the owner of the bar. You can contact them and they'll email you back. They're
set
sometimes
up.
be extremely friendly, like
Right.
David here at the Firkin, you know, it's like, and they'll give you a gig, you know. It's like there's enough sole proprietorships, the economy in the city as a whole is healthy enough, it's growing, that it can support this luxury industry really well. And it can support people that can do it for $10 a night.
So what's next for you guys? You got the EP. You're playing around town a lot. What's next? Is there a new album in the mix, or?
Definitely. We're working on new stuff, just recording, man. We're kind of like in the laboratory currently, sort of trying to figure out what the next direction of the recordings is going to be, and kind of working through that. Tonight, we're actually going to be recording one of Lynn's tunes that I'm super proud to play on, man. I think it's going to be sweet, and I think we're going to get some good video of it, and hopefully release it pretty soon, and that might be just like a proto for what's going to be on the next album.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as he said, he recorded the EP with another drummer, Anthony, who, man, Anthony's a great drummer. I've never even met the guy, but I took so many pages out of his book just from listening. Like, he was like, "Can you play this?" I'm like, "Sure, yeah, I can do that." And, you know, took as many pages out of Anthony's book as I could and tried to add my own kind of style to it. And so, yeah, now it's time to, you know, record the next chapter of stuff and, you know, keep playing out, keep keeping the fans happy. That's all we're trying to do is just build fans, build a fan base, and keep them happy, and go places and meet people.
Anything coming up? Any shows?
Oh,
coming up July and beyond.
Keep posted to the Facebook, because we're gonna be introducing and announcing some stuff pretty soon. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Good shows coming up.
Always house parties, always, you know, little festivals and things where, as a duo, we're very popular to get added on. Like, hey, can you guys open for this show? It's like, hell yeah, we can.
Yeah, we love those first and second slots.
It's great.
So that was my next question: is how do we find you guys? So Facebook is one.
Yeah, Facebook's
You got your website.
Landofthelivingmusic.com. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Keep
You
the music
can
alive.
find us usually at the Firkin or
man.
you know,
We're hanging out here.
Laurel Thirst or you know, any number of bars or venues around town where we're out trying to support other bands and yeah, we're pretty readily available. And
You can check out the Bandcamp. The Bandcamp, landoftheliving.bandcamp.com, has got, you can play the whole album for free there. Stream it.
Right.
So.
that's where all the recordings will be.
Or better yet,
SoundCloud.
come to a show.
Come to
right.
the show, buy a
Pick up
record.
the album.
Come to a
Right.
show.
It's on
Yeah.
CD as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Great. Well, guys, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Great talking.
Cheers.
To you.
Cool, brother.